Yeah. What?
Alan. Get you started.
Yeah. I'll never miss it. That's right.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this meeting to order. This is the Pennsylvania County Fire and Rescue Commission meeting, Thursday, April 20th, 2023, 6:30 p.m., 39 Bank Street, Chatham, Virginia, 24531. If you would, please call the roll call.
James Holly,
Here.
Ben Meeks,
Here.
Alan Casper,
Here.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell,
Here.
Brian Shields,
Here.
Kermit King,
Here.
Steve Stallings,
Here.
Coleman Mayhew,
Here.
Bert Sellers.
Here. All right, thank you, ma'am. I will say Mr. Ingram did let me know he was not going to be able to be here tonight, so he just wanted to pass that along. We'll excuse him. All right, we're going to have a moment of silence, please. All right, thank y'all. If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, that brings us down to any additions or revisions to our agenda?
Ben, I have several additions.
Okay.
First addition I would like to add is the utilization of the 640 Rescue Building.
All right, that'll be item H under new business.
Okay. The second thing would be the procedure for appointments to the Fire and Rescue Commission quadrant representative positions.
All right, that'll be I under new business. All right, is there any other additions to the agenda tonight?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I don't know whether we need to make an addition. Do we need to discuss anything on the diversions at the hospital or any? Because that's been on the agenda for the last couple of meetings.
I'm going to defer to the Public Safety Director. Would there be any update on the hospital diversions, improvement, decrease? Do you think there needs to be discussion tonight?
We can discuss it if you like. There's been no changes. So.
Okay. So it's up to you, Vice Chair. If you'd like to add it, we can. If not,
Yeah, go ahead and add it for a brief discussion.
okay. All right, so that's going to be item J under 13 new business. It's going to be hospital diversions. It really would be unfinished business, but we'll place it there so we can move on. All right. I think we're going for a record of longest agenda. Anything else we need to add? Okay. All right. I will entertain a motion to accept these items to be added to the agenda.
So moved.
All right. Got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, call the roll call, please.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell, Brian Shields,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings, Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay. Got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second down here for Tim. Any questions on the motion? If not, call a roll call, please.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell, Brian Shields,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings, Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, that brings us down to minutes approval. Y'all take a moment and review your minutes. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve last month's minutes.
So moved.
All right, got a motion on the floor, a second.
Second.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Casper, second by Vice Chair. Any questions on the motion? If not, call the roll, please.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell, Brian Shields,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That motion carries. Brings us down to item 8 on the agenda, presentations. I understand our county administrator is here tonight. Welcome, sir. Come on up and speak if you'd like. Is that mic on? Did you flip it up?
There we go.
Yeah, we got
Much better. Okay, I'm here to introduce myself. I am the new county administrator, Stuart Terrell. I was at the association meeting last night. I'll keep this brief. Just a little bit about me. I worked in North Carolina with the town of St. Paul's, North Carolina. Small town in the poorest county in North Carolina, Robeson County. We had no money, nothing. I worked, it was an all-volunteer fire rescue department, and I worked as close as I could with those guys to get them what they needed with grants. And I have deep respect based on what I saw. People who get up at 2 a.m. after they worked a full day or shift and go out and ride up on a scene of horror and then handle it and then have to get up and work a job in the morning is a true dedicated public servant, in my opinion. And I saw it. I worked closely with them. I saw them come back from calls in tears, with some cases PTSD. I know the sacrifice. I consider you folks the truest public servants in the county because you're here because you want to do it. And it's a brotherhood. And I understand that 100%. I worked with them for 6 years, so I know they saved the county hundreds of thousands of dollars. They did in my small town, kept us afloat through the Great Recession. So I'm here to say I do respect you, what you do. I consider you true to this county and truest citizens to public service. So you know, whatever is ever said about me, that's who I am. That is the truth. I further worked in Essex County as a deputy county administrator. worked actually with a fellow named Jimmy Brand who worked with Chris, and not this Chris, the other Chris. And so he and I worked hand in hand with the problem about finding the appropriate equipment that you need, and frankly finding the right amount of cross-training with EMT and firefighters. So I work closely with those problems to solve them. That is who I am, okay? There's whatever said about me, I've been there, I've worked with these guys, and you're on the front line to save lives in this county. Right now, there's people running calls saving people's lives. We had a department head meeting today. I started it that way. We touch people's lives intimately. Right now, there's people out there running calls, saving somebody's life right now. So I'm very much aware of your sacrifice and your dedication. That is the truth. Now, budget and all that stuff, I'm coming in at the end of this. I'm not really familiar with all that. And so, I'm just here tonight to tell you who I am. In City of Petersburg, I worked with largely paid fire and rescue, and their problems weren't so much money as it was leadership. So it was a different situation there. But I want to reiterate that I understand the sacrifice and the dedication. I consider you guys doing this for the love of the community way more important than someone being paid to do it. Okay, that means a lot to me that you're doing it because you love this place. All right? Everybody needs to get paid, but where your heart is, that's where your treasure is. That's what the Bible says. So, that's who I am. That's what I bring. I will work with you. I want to work with you. I don't know what's happened in the past. I'm here. I'm new. I want to work with you to make this the best public safety county in the state. That's my only goal. We may differ on the means, but that is my intention. To work with you. I know the sacrifice. I know that you save this county money in the huge geography of the county. It's very important that we work together and start a relationship of trust that I am going to help you to the best extent that I can. Okay? That is who I am. That's my history, and that's who I will always be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. I will say it'd be a breath of fresh air to have an administrator to support and try to back up our volunteers. All right, hearing on the citizens, I'm sorry, Chris, do we have any other presentations?
No other presentations.
All right, thank you, sir. Moving down to item 9, hearing on the citizens.
No one signed up, sir.
No one signed up. Moving right along. All right, Chief Fowler, welcome to the party. Go ahead with your association report, sir.
At this time, I'll hold off on my presentation.
Okay.
I do have some discussion for the fire and EMS billing
Okay.
side, but I can hold off to the end for that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Moves us down to number 11, county staff reports. Director Key.
All right, just a reminder, the ATL funding is still available for all agencies. All you got to do, turn in your receipts. That is for fire reimbursement. You can carry over the funds if you do not use them this year. There is no limit as to how many years you can carry it over, but it must be used on your fire apparatus purchases. EMS inspections are going well throughout the county. I think there's still 3 more agencies to be inspected end of this month, the first of next month. Reminder, I need the rosters turned in from every department for this year. The statewide burning ban's in effect for a couple more weeks through April 30th. And then the mutual aid, I'm still waiting on paperwork from mutual aid with Halifax, Campbell, and Bedford County.
You had any responses on the mutual aid, any conversations?
I have with Halifax, but Campbell and Bedford, it went to a dead end, so I have to continue that process.
I got you. Okay. All right. Any questions for the director on the report? Director, I do have a couple comments. The Board of Pharmacy, do we have an update on how many agencies that need to apply for that license?
Every EMS agency is supposed to apply. I don't
Okay.
know who has and who hasn't.
Okay.
I think I've had two to three reach out and ask for, what paperwork we had to submit and everything, and we've given them that.
Okay.
Everybody, I don't think, has followed through with it.
Okay. All right. Chief Fowler, if you just want to pass that along to the association, remind them.
Can I get a list of the folks that hadn't claimed their ATL funding as well, so I can reach out to them and
Yeah.
see if I can't encourage them to move along?
Well, like I said, some of them are planning to use them for
Right.
apparatus
Right,
purchases.
and
so-
I understand, but I just don't want them to get to the last minute and say, I forgot. If you can get that to me.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Moving right along. Unfinished business, which I guess I kind of jumped ahead of that, but any unfinished business from the commission? Take a quick peek here. I do want to say the sheriff's tabletop exercise, I think, went well. Director Key, if you want to touch on that just for a second. I wasn't able to be there, but I sent 3 providers, and they said it was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was great. We had 16 tables of personnel, from school board, social services, fire departments, rescue squads, sheriff's department. It was a great tabletop scenario. I'm going to probably say 80 to 100 personnel were there. And we're continuing with the next step. The next step is we're going to do a full-scale scenario with an active shooter. It'll be done in July. We started with the planning process yesterday. We're going to ask for some resources from the county agencies, so hopefully we can get that up and running. Don't have all the details yet. Like I said, we just met yesterday to get the process started.
Okay.
So it
Thank you.
will be a full-scale drill from start, transporting patients to the hospitals involved with it, all the way down to the reunification process. So we're going to go from one end to the other.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to just let everyone know, and that's why I was trying to grab my phone real quick, because it's in my phone. I don't have my bag, so all my notes is in the other car. I apologize. I was trying to find it real quick. Anyway, I can't find it, but they will, the sheriff's department will actually come out and do a active shooter class. If you would like, anybody would like to host it at their building. Climax just did one, and we had some people go, and they liked it as well as far as information. And it's for the public and for the first responders. I don't remember who teaches that, but it's one of the sheriff's detectives. But if you're interested, I'm sure you can reach out to Chris and he can find out.
Yeah, Brian Fox is also teaching a Stop the Bleed class, if any department wants that, dealing with the active shooter stuff. So.
Okay. All right, good information. All right, any other unfinished business, then we'll move on. All right, moving on, gentlemen. So it brings us down to 13A, Board of Supervisors Communications. Mr. Ingram's not here. I guess I'll defer to Chris. Do you have anything he passed along?
He didn't pass along anything. No, sir.
Okay, all right, we'll move to B. Move to item B, Fire and Rescue Memorial Update. All right, so that will be me. So just to update everyone quickly on the Fire and Rescue Memorial, we worked hard for 13 months with a committee to try to do a nice memorial, but every time I tried to put something together, we hit a roadblock. Finding a location has been difficult. We identified a location across from the public safety building. The county unfortunately had several issues with the location. We attempted to move it to behind the sheriff's office where the other memorial is adjacent to it. But I talked to the Sheriff Taylor and completely agree with him with the build of the new courthouse that's going to be happening in the next 2 to 3 years. The footprint of that courtyard is probably going to change. And so he did not think it would be a good idea to put it there. So at this time, we don't have a location, which therefore we can't move forward with coming up with a drawing. And in order to establish an account with the county per Kim Vanderhyde. And so I've also had 2 resignations from the committee for other reasons. So right now the committee is just going to put the Fire and Rescue Memorial on a hold. Met with Scott Hutcherson Tuesday. He was the only one that showed up from the committee. We're going to put it on a hold and maybe try to revamp it in a few months to come back with some new solutions. We had good conversations with Beach Grove Design and Trenda Levette out there, but it's just not working at this moment, so we're going to punt and try to come back with a new solution. If anybody has an idea they could pitch of where a location would be, I'm all ears. And if anybody else would like to head up that committee, they are more than welcome to. So that's the update I have, and I'll try to answer any questions if there is any. All right, moving on. Item C, SOG revision of radio procedures. Chris Key.
Yes, sir. This is the SOG that was presented last month and went back to the association for the radio procedures. They reviewed it and left it as it was and approved it and resubmitted it. So I know there was one change. It was recommended on the back. It's highlighted in yellow. They wanted to leave it as it was written. Excuse me.
So the only change is but CCOM will not be monitoring. Is that the?
That wasn't a change. That was left. That was the way it was. It was sent back from this commission to change it, but they agreed they wanted it left like it was written.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, yes, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Go ahead.
the thought process with that is we'll switch to a tactical channel and we'll operate there as long as we have active fire or we actively in operation of rescue or whatever the case may be. When the situation de-escalates, all along we've gone back to one of the primary agencies talk group to get stuff off of the tactical channels in the event we have another call. And that's always been that way, and CCOM didn't monitor. The incident commander would switch back to the primary channel, which is channel 3 CCOM, to let them know any issue that's come up or any other resources. As long as they're on an active fire, an active rescue scene, they'll remain on the tactical channel. Once it's de-escalated and they're in the cleanup phase, waiting on somebody to come pick up a vehicle, waiting on the fire marshal to get there to do his investigation, it's no sense in them being on a tactical channel and keeping that tied up, because it's not like we're trying to get resources in and outside agencies. So that's the reason for not entertaining the change. We're good with it.
Okay. And I totally agree with that. I just think it's important, Chief Fowler, that we pass along to make sure we're hitting those benchmarks. Everybody hits those benchmarks on the radio. And if you have fire under control, and you're done mopping up and you're just, packing up hose and stuff, then CCOM can switch back. But while there's active fire, they're kind of an extra lifeline for us. So, but if the association, they are the ones that are out fighting these fires, if that's the way they like it, then I'm good with it. So I'll entertain a motion. Unless there's another discussion from this group, I'll entertain a motion to approve the SOP as it's presented.
So moved.
All right. Got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. Any question on the motion? All right. Call the roll, please.
James Holling,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell, Brian Shields,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, that moves us down to 13D, SOG Review of Clinical Improvement Committee. This is going to be Chris Key. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the Clinical Improvement Committee, SOG. Basically, Dr. Long wrote this and has passed it down. It went through the Clinical Improvement Committee. They all agreed to it. It's gone to the Fire Rescue Association. They reviewed it, and now it's up for your review.
Okay. Chief Fowler, does the association approve of this SOG?
They've all looked at it. It's basically been handed down that this is the way it's going to be if Dr. Long continues to be the OMD. They've already met twice, the review committee, is that correct? they've had 2 meetings. The representatives I've talked to seem to think it's working. During the EMS inspection, I know it was brought up and discussed that that's the way they wanted to see it, so it's pretty much a handout. I mean, it's not an approval type situation, and it needs to be put in the SOG form so everybody knows what it is and how to follow it. So that's pretty much where we stand.
Okay. I guess to reword my question, I just want to be sure that you guys had had a time
yeah.
to look it over.
We know about it, and we're operating under it now.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Sounds like it's something we got to do. Is there any discussion on this, or we'll entertain a motion? And just to clarify, essentially all this is, Chris, is that the OMD for the county that gives us the right to operate under their license just wants a QA, QI type deal, so that we're actually reviewing call reports and following up on runs and that type stuff.
And that way, I mean, everybody's got the same policy, and plus the EMS inspection, it makes it easier when everybody's doing the same thing, so.
I would agree. Okay. All right. Any other questions for the director or Chief Fowler? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Holly. Second by anybody?
Second.
Was that Mr. Shields? All right, second by Mr. Shields. All right, any questions on the motion? All right, if not, call a roll.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell, Brian Shields,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That brings us down to item E, 13E, fire and EMS billing rates. That is me. So I'll start it off, and then I'm going to let Chief Fowler interject, because we also were discussing some fire billing as well. So I printed off the current rates under the previous commission, and then under our commission last year, we agreed we would establish an ad hoc committee, and it would be appropriate to send it down to the association and let them review it first to give feedback. Just to review our billing rates for the year and make sure that we're in line with the county surrounding us and with the, whatever the latest, I thought I had it in here somewhere. Like I said, when you come unprepared without your correct bag in the car, this is what happens. All right, so here it is. So this was effective last July. The association reviewed it and then approved it, sent it up. This body, along with public safety group, researched it and discussed it, and we approved it, sent it to the board of supervisors. They ultimately have to approve any changes to the rates. The current rate effective July 2022 for Pittsylvania County EMS billing rates, basic life support non-emergent $600, basic life support emergent $650, advanced life support non-emergent is $775, advanced life support emergent is $800, advanced life support 2 is $1,000, treat no transport is $400, patient refusals are $100, and mileage is $18 a mile. And again, this is under soft billing. So my thought process is to ask maybe 1 or 2 members from this body to, along with the association, to review our EMS billing rates and bring back, if there's no change, there's no change, but if there is changes, to bring those recommendations back. So just want to put that out there for discussion. And if you guys would like to send it back to the association first, we can do that. If we don't have to have an ad hoc committee from here, we can let those guys look at it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
that would be my recommendation, send it back to the Fire and Rescue Association and allow all the departments to look at it, because some may have more costs than others that they're not aware of, or we're not aware of, so.
Okay. Would you be willing to put that in a motion?
Be glad to.
Okay. All right.
Make a motion, send it back to the fire and rescue, and let them, send a rate sheet,
Okay.
or any increases, or if everything stays the same.
Okay, great. Do I have a second? Second. All right, got a second down here? Is that Mr. Sellers? Yes, sir, Mr. Sellers. All right, is there any questions on the motion? All right, if not, call a roll.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell, Brian Shields,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, now I'm going to go back to Chief Fowler for the second part, and we'll let him go.
Mr. Chairman, you all talked about at a previous meeting looking at fire billing rates, and I know there's agencies that want to and there's agencies that don't want to.
Yes, sir.
There's a situation that we can do compassionate billing when we have a structure fire, and I've talked to a couple of insurance carriers. Insurance companies carry a fee that they will provide to volunteer fire services. I think it's $500. I don't know that to be a fact. That's what I'm being told. I hadn't got that in writing yet. But we formed a committee that's looking at that and going to bring back a recommendation. The county already has an ordinance to provide for fire billing, and we just have never put any rates to it and put any teeth to it. Also, there's an element of it to be able to charge for motor vehicle crashes. And if you look around other counties, a lot of them are billing for motor vehicle crashes involving out-of-town folks that doesn't contribute to tax base and fire and rescue donations and that stuff. Some of the trucking companies do the same thing. They provide a stipend or payment to volunteers. And if you don't have that ordinance in place, you really don't have the right to send that billing out to see if you can get that funding through compassionate billing. There's some agencies that's been doing it in the county for a couple of years now, and for a while they were receiving funding back. Now the insurance companies have gotten wise and they send back a nice little letter. I read one last night that they sent back that the county didn't have an ordinance in place, so they wasn't going to send the funding. And a lot of folks say, well, a motor vehicle crash, I've donated. That's not where we're headed. At the end of the day, you go out here to a motor vehicle crash and you're out here 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 hours for a motor vehicle crash, and you got 5 or 6 guys and 5 or 6 pieces of apparatus out there controlling traffic, helping clean up this situation, helping mitigate hazmat spills and that stuff. That's where we've got to be able to recoup some funding. And that's what the committee's looking at, and we'll bring you back some information once all that's attained. I have found out that some surrounding counties, and I guess it's just because it's the elephant in the room, a lot of them are not doing it, but 3 different counties surrounding us are working on their rates right now. And I talked to one of the committee members last night and recommended that we try to get with those surrounding counties so all of us mirror each other. If we're going to do it, we need to mirror what the adjoining county is doing and have our rates look the same.
Thank you, sir. To add to that, when we started speccing our engine at Gretna back 3 years ago, we went up to South Hill and sat down and met with South Hill. And, of course, they have the interstate, a little bit different than we do, but they have the interstate there in their territory. And South Hill said exactly what the chief just said. We try to capture all these cars, and I just put in for a FEMA grant this year at Gretna as well, and we had to collect that data. There's over 13,000, this is per VDOT, over 13,000 vehicles that they travel U.S. Highway 29 through our county, not staying here, not residents here, but traveling through our county. A lot of that commercial trucking, and that doesn't count your 40s and your 57s and all the 58s and all those roads, just U.S. Highway 29. Look how many departments covers territory in U.S. Highway 29 or one of these other major roads that you could capture that out-of-town person that is not contributing to especially the commercial, like your truck drivers and stuff, that's not contributing to the tax base here, but yet, like Dean said, you know, and I'll give you another instance. 4 years ago, we had a Foster Fuels truck turn over on 40. I was the first one on the scene because it was right outside my driveway. For 14 hours, we couldn't leave my house, but that's okay. I was command. And for 14 hours, we sat there cleaning up a fuel spill into a waterway. And reason why? Because Foster Fuel travels that road with tanker trucks every day because one of their main fill-up stations is in Brookneal. And so why not try to be able to capture that? And the chief is correct. South Hill suggested to us their billing rates. We took those back to Gretna. We approved what we wanted to try to bill and what would be the parameters. We're not trying to get the little old citizen that runs in the ditch and we're there 30 minutes or less directing traffic. That's not, we wouldn't bill for that. What we would try to bill for is the motor vehicle accidents that we were out there for hours, hazmat scenes, extrications, LZs, those type deals that we were setting up. And the problem was, unless it was some of the trucking companies would respond and send a donation, but no one would pay because they always said, your fire ordinance doesn't have any set rates. We don't have to pay you. Your county says you'll run this and you'll do it for free, essentially. So I just want people to understand we're not trying to take the volunteer out of the departments. We're just trying to pay the bills. The county can't completely meet our needs with the fuel increases and everything else. This is a way to help combat that. I have some reservations on some of it, but I do wholeheartedly, support the majority of this. So I appreciate y'all doing that, Chief. Is there any other discussion or questions for the chief?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Chief Fowler, can you tell us how much insurance coverage do you have to which part of the insurance would cover this?
I don't know. I've been told it's your homeowner's policy when you would have a fire and of significant nature. Now, I'm assuming a grease fire and a little bit of smoke and fire damage in the kitchen wouldn't apply, but when you have a full-blown structure fire, they allow so much that they will forward to the volunteer department.
Yeah. And your vehicle would liability cover it? I guess that was I'm sorry, I didn't include
I don't
would comprehensive cover it?
I don't know
or?
the answer to that question without researching it.
Okay.
I think your liability will cover it because it's what you've actually caused damage to and expenses incurred. So I would assume it would, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay.
And Vice Chair, just to touch on that, just because we were trying to establish that, but again, the ordinance here doesn't help. So after we met with South Hill, we brought it back, we kicked it around at our station, we come up with an actual sheet. Come up with a sheet that for our call reporting that would meet that need. So to answer your question somewhat, I don't know about the structure fires. And again, that's the one part where I have a few reservations on some things. But as far as the vehicle billing, I absolutely do, because everybody in Virginia and in the United States is supposed to have insurance, or either they pay the uninsured motorist fee, but the majority have insurance. And so their insurance would cover it. Liability would cover it. And again, it's soft billing. We're sending it to the insurance. We're not sending it to their home address and saying we're going to collect money on you. It's to their insurance that they already pay for. And most of the time, those insurance companies have that built in there. But what we done is we went to some local insurance companies and talked to them about what we would need to do. The one important thing is if you have a motor vehicle accident, obviously with 2, 3, 4 vehicles, you're going to have to work with the state police to find out who's at fault. The state police will completely work with that. You just get the investigating officer's phone number and information, and if usually at that day, he will let you know this was the at-fault person, this is who got the ticket. Doesn't mean they're found guilty yet, obviously, but this is who is being charged. But if not, they will let you know as soon as they do find out. And you follow up on it. And on that report, it just has to have the make, model, year, insurance company, tag number, state VIN, the agent, and the registered to name and address. And all of that is usually in the vehicle on the insurance card, or the state police will be able to get it for you when they do their report. Again, I have copies of this if anybody would need one once y'all get there, Chief Fowler. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
how does the Code of Virginia address the billing for that?
That would be a question I could not answer truthfully. I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, you have to send the bill to the individual, not the insurance company.
So I know when we tried to do it initially, we always sent it to the insurance company if we had that information. Very few times did we send it to the individual. And again, initially they were paying it. They were paying we had no problems. And then I don't know if it was picked up on or what, but they started sending letters saying your ordinance doesn't support it. We don't have to pay it. But now that would be a question I don't know truthfully. And that would be a good question we would need to find out before we can move forward with this. Because if so, then you would obviously have to change a little bit as far as you could make your form, this is a bill, please forward to your insurance. Again, it would be up to the individual. If they throw in the trash, they throw in the trash, but it's an attempt to recoup some funding. So.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes,
also under the impression there's a limit that actually can be billed for
That is-
fires and for any type.
Yes, that is correct. So on the motor vehicle accidents, I don't remember what the limit is, but there's a certain limit you can bill up to. It's just like with Medicare or Medicaid, they have an agreed upon set limit. You can bill them what you want, but they're not going to pay it. They're only going to pay that agreed limit if they feel that they meet that need to pay it. And it's the same thing with structure fires. Structure fires we never tried to bill for, so I don't know. I've always been told it's $500. Again, I'm hoping the committee can find that out, truthfully, but that we never did pursue, but I was told it's $500.
We've actually sent a request to the State Corporation Commission to get that information.
Okay, perfect. That would help answer some questions. All right, any other discussion before we move on?
I got a question, Ben.
Yes, sir.
When you were billing or doing your sheet, were you direct billing the insurance company, or you were going to your billing company?
We were direct billing, so nothing to do with EMS billing. They won't touch it. We have, so I have an EMS, what I call supervisor, basically their position. They handle all our EMS billing at Gretna. And any agency that does EMS billing, I'm sure you have somebody established. And that same individual would then bill these separately. They would just, whatever the sheet information that was collected, they would send it to that address for that insurance company. And again, like I said, sometimes it would come back, sometimes it wouldn't. And we got all this information from South Hill. So, Chief, that would be maybe a good, Chad Hogan would be a good one to reach out to. He was there as well. All right. Any other discussion on the motion? I'm sorry, not the motion. Any other discussion on the topic? All right. If not, thank you, Chief. We'll listen back for your report next month. All right. That moves us down to F, budget discussion. Real quick, I talked to Kim Vanderhyde this week. I was in hopes that we were going to have a proposed budget presentation tonight. Unfortunately, that will not come out until next Tuesday. Is that correct?
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, okay. That was all she could give me. She said next Wednesday you will have the breakdown of what their proposal is for fire and rescue. That's as far as she could take it. So there's really no discussion. I apologize for putting it on the agenda. I thought it would be out, and then Kim said it just wasn't going to be out yet. So we will discuss that in our next meeting. Can you give us the dates, Director Key, on, so you said next Wednesday the proposal comes out, and then when do they have the public hearing on that?
Yeah, the proposed budget comes out April 26th at 4 p.m. The budget advertisement is May 3rd. The proposed school board and full county budget public hearings will be May 16th, and then the final approval will be May 23rd.
All right, and we have another commission meeting before that budget is approved. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. But May 3rd is the public hearing. Is that what you said? If anybody would
No, that's
from
the
here?
advertisement. The budget
Advertisement. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
May 16th is the
May
public hearing.
16th will be your hearings.
So if anybody in here is interested, and anybody listening at home or in the audience, please attend. I'll try to go myself. All right. Moving us down to item G, fire and rescue study. And that's me. Gentlemen, you'll see the fire and rescue study in front of you. This was completed by the Virginia Fire Services Board. in 2015. Thank you, Director Key, for getting everyone a copy. I basically just wanted to get this passed out just to give you all, I'm gonna be truthful with you now, I don't think this is all the gospel, because this was outsiders just coming in taking a look, but some of the things in here was good on recommendations. And so I really just wanted you guys to get a copy of it, to be able to take a look at it and see some of the changes we've made for the good. I would say since 2015, and Chief, you probably would agree with me, our fire and EMS agencies have either continued their coverage or improved their coverage for the most part. Would that be correct to say, Director Key? I think so. I think some good come out of that, and I think the commission, the association, all has, and ultimately the board of supervisors have had a lot to play in that. Some other good things that come out of this, this commission was formed by this study to be able to work with the association and to work with the public safety department. The public safety department was formed essentially from this, was recommended from this survey or this study. So there's some other good things in here if y'all would take a look at it. Again, it's just a conversation piece I wanted you guys to be able to have. I was provided this, obviously, as a chief or as an officer then, and then I was provided this when I got on the commission 3 years ago, and I thought it had some good information. There is some things in here that I don't think is, again, that is the gospel for our county, just because this county has, as the administrator said earlier, and he's correct, we have a unique county due to our land mass. We have a county bigger than the state of Rhode Island. So we save the county millions with our volunteer departments. But I think our volunteer departments and our public safety department work well together, and hopefully we can continue that into the future. So that's the job of this committee or this commission, is to help find ways to make that work. So if there's any discussion on this, more than welcome to entertain it. If not, it makes good reading material. Y'all take it home. Anything you want to add to that, Director Key?
No, sir. I mean, like I said, we've looked at it and reviewed it, so we've been able to check off a few boxes that we have accomplished it. I think probably in another couple of years we ought to do it again.
Yeah.
To see where we're at, see if we've truly made improvements, and what else we can do to improve.
So, question, and I'm sure you would know this, and I know Chief Fowler would know this. This is the second study. When was the first study completed?
Yeah, 2006.
2006. So essentially 9 or 10 years is when we, in between the first two.
I think they actually allowed us to get in a little earlier than we were supposed to. I think they recommend it to be every 15 years.
Okay.
But I think they allowed us, due to some extenuating circumstances and some issues that were going on at the time, I think due to the fact that the association as well as county administration requested, I think they gave us an exception last time. But I think it's actually supposed to be 15 years.
Okay, so we'd be looking at around 2030 probably, time frame. And again, like I said, if you read this document, we've made a lot of improvements on our county. Thankful to, all the people I listed before. I'm not going to beat that horse to death, but, I think some good come out of it. So maybe in 2030 or maybe a little sooner, we'll get them to do it again. All right, we're going to move on to the next item. There's nothing else on that. This is item 8, 640 Rescue Building. I'm going to go to Commissioner Casper.
Okay, we've discussed this some before, the utilization of the 640 Rescue Building. And that for people in that community, there is a concern. There's a reason there was a 640 Rescue Squad to begin with. It's because it's a very, very rural area, and it's a long way from anywhere in our county. We have a big county. And that building currently, has a response 4 there. And that response 4 works, it's 13 hours a day, I believe. And they do a great job. No complaints there, but it's still not an ambulance. Blair's, Chatham, and Gretna pretty much picked up the old 640 territory, and all 3 agencies do a fantastic job, but it's still a long way. that area needs an ambulance. And, you know, just from informal discussions, I know that, you know, there was no funding in the budget this time for an additional ambulance. I understand that. But it's something that seriously needs to be looked at. And also, I think one of the drawbacks on that building down there was the lack of sleeping quarters. Because, well, right now you have a daytime response vehicle. You didn't need them. But, I mean, you have, you know, kitchen, living area, truck bays. I mean, surely Pennsylvania County can find funding for sheetrock and framing. It can't be that difficult to put in 2 small sleeping quarters. It can't be. The location of that building is excellent. It is very strategic for that area. It gives an ambulance in that area. Not only would it cover the first due of the old 640 rescue, it would be in a perfect position to run back up to the 3 agencies that are covering it now. It would be back up. It would run into, could run easily run back up into the Keeling area. That truck, having a truck in that building would be very beneficial to that community. I know we have discussed, again, totally unofficially, just throwing things against the wall, see what sticks, about the reallocation of the apparatus that we already have in place to better serve the citizens of the county, not just in that area, but in other areas. So that's something, I wanted that added to the agenda because it really, really needs to be looked at. And again, if we need to find funding to put up 2 small bedrooms, I mean, if we can't find funding for that, we're in bad shape.
Yeah, so I was contacted as well. I know Alan talked to me before the meeting about this, and I was contacted as well by some of the citizens in the community and sort of said the same thing. And I just had a non-official conversation with the directors the other day at their office. Was there for the memorial meeting, and we just talked about it. The possibilities of relocating some of the trucks. Obviously, we don't have any additional funding to put another apparatus down there right now to add a 4th ambulance. Let me say it that way. So it was kicked around. I don't know how doable it is. I'm going to let Chris discuss, and maybe even Casey, the chief, she's here. You've got Medic 2 down there. I don't know what the primary call volume that they run, but I know it's not much. I know they do run a lot of ALS intercepts or backups. So I think if you looked at moving them, we would need to try to have the response vehicle staffed 24 hours a day with ALS. I do think that would be the only way you could move those 2 vehicles to strategically improve our responses. But again, it's just a thought. We don't mind going down there from Grutna. I'm sure Dean and them out at Blair's and Chatham Rescue, but it is a haul. From Migrant Station to McDaniel Road is about 18 minutes, and I went there yesterday for a call. So that's just the reality of it. And that truck, if it was there, could jump across the 640 interchange there, intersection there, and run into Renan that direction as well. North Halifax, a great agency. I know they're having some difficulties right now. They're only running about 50% of their calls in the county because they're an outside agency. So they could try to help back up some that direction as well. Because again, if they don't answer, then it's us or Medic 1, and that's a haul too. So it's just something that some of the citizens have brought up. And so it's up for discussion, but we'll let the director speak first about it.
Yeah, I think we would have to study it, in order to move it. If we put just the medic unit here in Chatham, then it's going to put an extended response time for an ambulance, for a backup ambulance in this area. It's something we could look at and try to designate the old 640 area to see how many calls they're having in that area to where we could do that. Obviously moving them would be the simplest, but we've got to add some type of bedding structure or something for them. I don't know if the footprint now would allow 2 bedrooms to be put in it and still have enough room to move around. Otherwise, adding a 4th ambulance obviously is going to take a little bit of cost, to get another staffing for it and to get, a few pieces of medical equipment we would need for it. We do have a 4th ambulance we could add.
Director Key, do you know how many calls we have in that area now? Or just,
I can't say that definite because 640, the Squad 4 doesn't run all that territory.
okay.
So the 640, and Chief Fowler, you correct me if I'm wrong, the 640 territory covered about 100, 110 calls a year. Would that be accurate or close?
I think the last year they were in operation, it was like 102 calls.
So between 100 and 110 primary calls. And I do realize the concern from our constituents to the west from here, as far as if you move that primary truck, because I know Callan's right now, they're trying to get their call coverage up a little bit, and they do run out there some from mutual aid. However, again, they have it is a rescue squad out there, and it is a primary agency right here in Chatham that, Chatham rescues 86 or 96, whatever, 90% or better on their call coverage. Is that correct?
I don't have a number. It's somewhere in the 80s to 90s, yes, sir.
So, I don't know I don't know how, I don't have the perfect answer for it, but it is a very good topic that I think our public safety department really needs to probably put some thought to this and maybe review it and do some studies and see if that's something we could make happen.
Money fixes everything, not a problem.
That's right. That's right. Glad we got the county administrator here tonight. Is there any other discussion on this?
Well, long term, because next year's budget time will roll around quicker than we realize. And I think really there needs to be planning for at least a 4th ambulance from public safety in this county. I know there have been requests for other areas. So these things, when we started on this venture, we knew it was going to grow. We knew that the costs were going to increase. And it's simply, like I said, we need to be prepared for it in the next budget cycle so that we can earmark money for that.
Just to back up what Mr. Casper said, I think we don't need to kick his can down the road very long. Everybody in the 640 community needs the same response as the people in Ringgold and the people in Blair's. It's a not much population down there, and it's a low amount of calls, but the man that's having a heart attack down there that lives on a rural road, he needs a response just as quick as we do in the heavily populated areas. So I hope that as a committee here, and Chris, if y'all can, let's don't kick it down the road. Let's get some studies started or whatever we need to do. And Mr. Terrell, you may need to get involved in this. You say you're going to help the volunteer firemen. This is a good chance for the whole county to step up and help this community. That's all I have.
Because right now, Ben, and again, I'm a huge supporter of Squad 9, North Halifax Fire and Rescue. Love those guys. Love working with them, love training with them. But they, like many, are a rural agency, and they struggle with coverage. And depending on an agency from outside of the county, we found out how that could bite you when Alta Vista closed. We had no control over that because it was in another county. Right now, I believe you said they were covering about North Halifax will come about 50% in Pennsylvania County. Okay, just I'll use my residence for an example. If I dial 911 and they don't cover, Medic 1 will have, assuming they immediately get in route, according to Google Maps, they have a 21-minute response time. 21 minutes is a long time in a medical emergency. So again, as Mr. Sellers said, the people in that community, it may be more rural. It may be farmers instead of, other types of businesses. But they deserve the same thing provided to them that other areas of this county get. And when 640 Rescue closed, the people in that community lost their EMS coverage. Now they depend on EMS coverage coming from much further away, and they deserve better.
I would agree with that. And I'm just going to say this. I know it comes down to funding, but that truck currently needs to be staffed ALS for the 13 hours it's in service because, I'm not knocking providers, but when you're having a medical emergency, that pickup is better than an ambulance. But depending on what type of emergency you're having, a lot of things require a higher level of care. And that ALS can start interventions that would be life-saving versus waiting 20 minutes that a BLS provider can't, not taken away from their level. They just can't do it. They're not allowed to. They don't have the skill set to. You're waiting 20 minutes for another ALS truck that may or may not be coming. If Medic 2's on a call, my truck's on a call, Dean and them's on a call, Chatham Rescue's on a call. I mean, how many times a day does that happen? A lot. You might be waiting for Medic 1 to come all the way to 640, or Medic 3, or whoever. I don't know who would be the next in line, but it's a long time, especially for somebody in cardiac arrest. You're pronouncing a DOA at that point. You're not doing life-saving measures. So, I know we are a large county and funding is an issue, and I say this as a volunteer chief, and I think my other volunteer chiefs would say this as well. I have no issue with the old 640 territory being covered by a public safety ambulance, because that's just a long haul for us. Of course, we want to keep our territory because we cover our territory 99% of the time, and the other departments do as well. But as far as out there, that's a long haul for anybody. And like Alan said, I've been to Alan's house before, and I've went that way to work before. From my station to his house is about 27, 28 minutes.
Every bit of it.
So, that the second dude out there, if he's having a medical or family having a medical, close to 30 minutes response time. By that time, I'm just going to put my family member in the car if I got somebody there and drive them to Groton or Lynchburg.
And realistically, I speak from personal experience. The 2 times my family has had to, with an elderly family member, has had to utilize 911, both times Medic 1 thankfully came. I was very pleased, but it's a long way.
Yeah. So. All right, any other discussion on the topic? All right, the request would be for the Public Safety Department to review that and maybe bring us back some findings. I know that might take a little while, so it don't have to be next meeting. But all right, thank y'all. Next item on the list is going to be, I had to go over and under 14. I got to do my alphabets, A-B. All right, so B, that'll be the appointments. And again, this was added by Mr. Casper, so Commissioner Casper, I'll bring it back to you again.
This is possibly the most I have talked in a commission meeting. But anyway, no, I just wanted us to visit the procedure for appointing the quadrant representatives to the commission. And, because we had this last time, anybody involved in it knows we had a lot of passionate discussion and debate. And no criticism at all for the gentleman. I mean, you know, J.D. Brown, I feel like my right hand's missing right here, but he's a good friend. He's a great guy. Coleman Mayhew. Coleman and I are friends. Coleman and I serve on the same volunteer fire department. So there's not a question that we had good quality candidates for this position. There's no question about that. The question that I had and others had was, and again, not criticizing anybody in this room, not Director Key, nobody. It was handled differently than it was the first time. I mean, we have bylaws, and maybe we need to clarify those bylaws. Maybe it was left a little too much up to interpretation. But the first time we had, because I sat in on this meeting, the leadership from the 4 agencies in that quadrant sat down in a room. They talked about multiple people. They discussed it, and they talked about it until they came up with a consensus to recommend someone to the Board of Supervisors for approval for the Northeast Quadrant representative. This time it was done totally different. Not saying one was that it was a bad way or anything like that. I'm just saying it was different. And I think we need consistency. We need, if we're going to do these things, if we do them consistent and try to adhere to the bylaws, it will avoid a lot of this discontent that we had over this. Again, not criticizing either gentleman, both fine men, both, that's not the issue. The issue is we took a totally different approach to it this time, and I think we need to try to, like I said, I don't know if we need to look back at our bylaws, but we need consistency on the way we apply the rules of this commission. And that's why I put it on the agenda for discussion.
All right, thank you. Any discussion on the agenda item?
So does that mean we need to review our bylaws, or how it's done, or just, what's it mean?
So I keep a copy of the bylaws always in both vehicles. And I'm glad I did, because I might have forgotten my big bag, but I have a copy here. So the bylaws state under Article 6, 4.1, the commission shall be composed of 13 members and appointed as follows. Each Board of Supervisors member shall appoint 1 commission member who has significant fire or EMS experience from his or her election district. The fire and rescue agencies in each of the below quadrants of the county shall also recommend to the Board of Supervisors the following citizen members located to the appointed to the commission that have significant business experience. 1 member located west of Highway 29 and north of Highway 57. 1 member located east of Highway 29 and north of Highway 57. 1 citizen member from east of Highway 29 and south of R&L Smith Road to its intersection with Franklin Turnpike, east of Franklin Turnpike and east of the city of Danville and south of Highway 57. And 1 citizen member from west of Highway 29, north of R&L Smith Road, west of Franklin Turnpike, and west of the city of Danville and south of Highway 57. The chairman of the Board of Supervisors during the Board of Supervisors annual organization meeting shall appoint 1 Board of Supervisors member to the commission. Said member shall not be a voting member of the commission. The president and or chairman of the county's Fire and Rescue Association shall also serve on the commission, but shall only vote in case of a tie vote to the commission. No member of the commission shall be an employee of Pittsylvania County. And if y'all will remember, we passed a motion through, and I drafted a letter and sent to Vaden Hunt to change the voting privileges of the association, which was requested by the association, not to take away, but because it actually countered what our ordinance said and countered what the meaning of the Fire and Rescue Association having a individual on this board meant. You either have voting powers or you don't. You don't just get to vote under one circumstance. And so we as a body sent that. I sent it to Vaden Hunt. The last word I heard from him, tried to call him again today, didn't get an answer or a response, but the last word I heard from him was that it was going to the legislative committee and was up to them to change in the county ordinance. I will say that this bylaw, though, other than what we changed, is clear. And what the Board of Supervisors the other night done was not what the bylaws state. I have no issues with Coleman Mayhew. Coleman served on the Fire and Rescue Memorial and did a lot of the back work, and I hate that we've had to put that on pause. But I've met so much opposition, and he's done a good job with that. I've also served with him. His son was my vice president for years. His wife was my secretary for years at Gretna. No issues there at all. J.D. Brown is a good friend of mine, and J.D. Brown was wrongfully kicked off this commission as well. There was a compromise placed or offered, but because of politics, dirty politics, that was not entertained. But the truth was not told that these bylaws were not followed. The director, by not his fault, but he should not have to send an email to the 4 quadrant chiefs and ask for us to have a vote in by Friday, and I don't see the email till Wednesday. That's not how this works. The way this is supposed to work, Chief Fowler, you tell me if I'm right or wrong, the quadrants will meet, the chiefs will meet, and they will forward one name to be sponsored by the Board of Supervisors to yes or no. If it is no, then they will come up with a second name. It's not a who's better resume. It's not a who's a 50-50 coin toss. It's not a debate. And again, they may remove me after tonight, but I'm going to say what I had to say. So, Chief Fowler, am I wrong on that's how the quadrants were set up?
That's originally how it was set up, but I think there's a missing link, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and Chris, you correct me if I'm wrong. That set of bylaws is for this commission.
That's correct.
That set of bylaws is not for the Board of Supervisors.
That's correct.
And it's been made clear to me, it's been made clear to you one time, and several others on this commission with other issues, that this commission don't have the authority to tell the Board of Supervisors what they can and can't do.
That's correct.
And I think that's the fallacy that we're all gonna have to live with. They have the authority to take or deny that recommendation from those fire chiefs in that quadrant. Because in the past, there's several quadrants that had representation placed in them by the Board of Supervisors that didn't come from the fire agencies in that quadrant.
So these right here, you might as well do this right here with.
Well, at the end of the day, I think it's needed, because I think we need to follow it as a commission, and I think we need to do diligence to be able to get them a recommendation. The other side of the coin is they can decide if they want to respect that request or not.
Well, I'll just put it on the record. Neither one of or I should say, my department, which is the largest department in the Northeast Quadrant, was not contacted by either of the board members that made the motion and the second at the meeting the other night.
And again, and I like the way Dean put that, the Board of Supervisors does have the authority to accept or reject anything, because they are the governing body of this county. With that said, I feel like this commission was not given the opportunity to follow the bylaws that govern this commission. That's where I have a problem with it. Yes, we could have sent a recommendation to the board. Board could have said yes or no. That is up to them. But the fact that, and anybody that doesn't realize that politics are at play in this is fooling themselves. I mean, we are painfully aware that we have had time and time again on different fire and rescue issues that we have had political hands in those issues. But it does disturb me that we are asked to serve on this commission, but yet we aren't allowed to follow the bylaws as set forth before us. And as Ben said, communication with Board of Supervisors members, certain members, is almost non-existent. I was originally appointed by Mr. Barksdale, and Mr. Barksdale and I, we used to have meetings at the chicken place there south of White Oak Mountain. We used to have a lunch meeting. I miss them. Bojangles, I couldn't come up with a word. But I want this commission to be respected enough by the Board of Supervisors to allow us to do what they have asked us to do. And I feel in this instance, the commission was essentially, for all intents and purposes, bypassed.
And Coleman, I want to say I'm glad you're still here with us, and I appreciate you, and I hope we can get the Fire and Rescue Memorial back underway, that you're back with us. So it's not meant towards you at all. The vote was 2-2 so that everybody knows when Chris sent out the email, and that's how it got back to the Board of Supervisors. The problem I had was we never did it that way in the past. It was supposed to be sit down and meet and give a name. I talked to several chiefs in this county, Donald Motley, well-respected, retired sheriff's department being one of them, that said, yeah, we couldn't come to a conclusion, but we sat in there for hours until we finally come up with a name. If Coleman would have been the name, I'm fine with that. If JD would have been the name, I'm fine with that. I can work with these gentlemen, and I know they'll do the right thing. But what happened was not fair to either gentleman, you know. And I'm just going to put that out there. It be what it be. Any other discussion on this topic? All right, moving on. All right. Item J, hospital diversions. Vice Chair.
Yes, I won't beat this horse to death, but I'll just, my thing is that when the hospital don't go actually put out that they go on diversion anymore. They wait till you get there, and then they surprise you with diversion to stay in your truck. And I don't know whether anybody else has had any dealings with that lately or not. But I mean, we had a unit to sit there for 45, 50 minutes while other agency units was coming in dropping patients, and they were sitting in the turn lane. I mean, for the length of the call and everything that we went on, we could have transported to Lynchburg and been back home before we ever got back to the station. I mean, you know, and then to me, if you own a diversion, are you allowing, why can some agencies drop their patient off and leave and other ones have to wait? I guess that's more my question. What gives one priority over the other one? And I know life-threatening emergencies, and this one started out with an unresponsive patient.
So you had an unresponsive patient, but you couldn't drop them off at the hospital?
No, they got, and they had to wait for like 45 minutes in the turn lane. Thankfully, the patient with the care that they received progressed the right way, but they still the other agencies was transporting and dropping their patients off and leaving, and they were still sitting in the turn lane.
This is my opinion. The state came and they gave a form for us to fill out. A complaint needs to be filed on that.
Yeah,
if there's
that's
other
what
agencies
they do. They come file, you know, we all filing complaints. Everybody was on the call.
Yeah. And I would also say our director, or at least our public safety department, if that is occurring, just because of what agencies on the side of your truck does not dictate who should be allowed in a hospital. What dictates allowed in a hospital first is called triage, and so whoever's the worst. I wasn't there. I don't know how they triaged the call, but it doesn't sound, I mean, can you elaborate who they allowed in front of y'all?
Yeah, the Danville Life Saving Crew went in front of us two or
That's
three
what I
times.
figured. It seems the Danville Life Saving Crew gets the precedence over Pittsylvania County ambulances in Danville.
Well, Ben,
Yes, sir.
I mean, and Kermit, if I show up at the hospital and when I get there, they say stay in the truck, guess what? My smiling face is coming in. Well, I really don't care whether they say stay in the
They
truck
called
or
on the
not.
radio, and they didn't know this until they got there, and they called on the radio, and they told them, said, well, stage in the truck until we can get something ready for you to come in. But in the meantime, you got trucks rotating in and through and dropping patients off.
At that point, I just have to say negative, I'm coming in.
And they actually saw some patients come out of triage and go get waited on before they could come into the, and like I said, I know your average run-of-the-mill patient, but like you said, a lot of these places, like you were just talking about 640, we 2 hours away from everywhere.
Yeah, very similar situation, exactly. But yeah, in my opinion on that one is, you just go in anyway.
And I know we've got a new CEO at the hospital, so, I don't know whether their plans are trying to fix this or work on this or not, but, like I said, all these people that was here the other day speaking on it, I kind of hope they tuned in tonight and watched us.
Well, like I said, I'm just speaking for myself, but personally, Alan's not waiting on the curb.
Mike, how's Ringo? Is Ringo having any issues with diversion?
No, just like I said, they don't tell you everything. I personally think, well, since the last meeting, Gamble maybe has gotten some better. Okay? We did have an instance, last week, I think it was Wednesday, I actually talked to Casey. So I heard they had met that Tuesday, had like a 45-minute match. Nobody said no more than 45 minutes. And I know they got different circumstances. My truck went in the next day, which was Wednesday. They got an ER at 2:18 p.m. They left at 3:48 p.m. 1 hour and a half. That was the next day. That was outside that long. Personally, I went in 2 nights ago. My truck, we had 2 different calls. I went in about 10 something. We stayed outside maybe 20, 25 minutes. I went inside, talked to the head nurse, and, you got different problems. So the problem they had that night was a shortage of nurses, shortage of help, okay? They had some beds in the hall, and then the hallway beds. Some of them were open, and I asked, can I bring my patient in there? But if you do, you want to stay with them, because we're short on nurses. We eventually took out patients to triage, and we set outside 20 minutes. But I think that we've got something better, because we still got some weights, but it depends on what's going on inside.
Thank you, Mike. Dean, what's your take on it? We're going to go around the room.
I've actually been there and they told me to sit in the truck and I carried the patient in. Security came, I left my patient and I came on back to the station. I've also been there and they told us we were going to be there for 45 minutes to an hour. I sent the truck north, sent 1 truck to Martinsville. At the end of the day, if they tell me I'm going to be there 45 minutes, I can be at the next facility in 45 minutes. And I'm not going to sit there. And you heard the same thing I did. 80% of their business comes through that emergency room. If you don't have business, you don't keep existing.
So out of our, and again, Director Key, you might have to help me with this because I don't know what OEMS says. Do we need to look at setting a SOP that if your wait time is going to be X amount due to proper patient care, then we automatically go to the next hospital available?
I don't think we should set an SOG to allow for something that the state says is against the law.
Agreed.
At the end of the day, the director of EMS stood right there, correct me if I'm wrong, and said that diversion is not a situation allowed in the state of Virginia. All of you all heard it.
Yeah, only if all doors are closed is the only way they can divert.
That's right. They can't take anybody.
Yeah. Now,
That's
granted,
right.
they haven't been on diversion since January 22nd. But in saying that, you may be on hold for 45 minutes.
It's a play on words.
Yeah.
I'm about to say, so
If
basically,
you're
all
gonna
they
sit
done is,
outside, if you're gonna sit outside and not allowed in, that's diversion. It's just being
So
hid.
basically, they just changed the terminology.
They don't announce it anyway.
They don't have to report it to the state if they don't state it.
I will state that we deal with Grutland 99% of the time. We're fortunate to have them in our community. Wish we had one of those in every community. Grutland's great. Grutland's only a 10-bed facility. So obviously, they do go on diversion a lot, and theirs is warranted. But if I call them anywhere in my first due and say I have an unresponsive patient, they are going to make room in that hospital for me. I've never had it. They could be blowing out the windows with people, and they are going to make room, usually in one of those 2 trauma rooms they got. They only have 2 trauma rooms, or two, main bays, mega bays, whatever you want to call them. And they're going to make room for us.
That's because you're dealing with Centra. I go to Lynchburg. I've seen it look like a New York City war zone. They handle it. I have never been put on weight on the curb at Centra Healthcare in Lynchburg, Virginia, and they are a far busier hospital than Danville.
So to answer your question, Vice Chair, I think we've talked about this several times.
Yeah, we
I would
have.
follow up with what the director of EMS said from the state and file a complaint. And I would also start to calling and asking our director to call and ask why is agencies from other localities located in i.e. Danville allowed to come in over Pennsylvania County.
And, we used to get those alerts that said, Pennsylvania County diversion. We used to get those a lot too. That, so what did that mean? That the county couldn't transport? And who could? But like I said, I'm not going to beat it to quit.
Folks, I know this is probably not a popular consideration, but I just read the other day, I think it was in the newspaper, the new casino is expected, the temporary casino is expected to bring 10, 12,000 people a day, and the permanent is 25 to 30 a day. If we're in the situation we're in now, what are we going to be in then? And I know the comment's been made, they came to gamble, they didn't come to be sick. I got sick last August. I didn't plan it that morning when I left the house to go eat breakfast, I promise you.
And you didn't lose any money, did you?
I was going to say, you lose enough money, you'll have chest pains.
Yeah. You're going to have emergencies from that place. It's just going to happen.
I guess my comment is to try to incite some discussion, and in talking to the county administrator last night, we talked about looking ahead. I think we need to look ahead in some other avenues other than just fire and rescue for the citizens of Pennsylvania County.
I would agree. Again, I'm glad the administrator's here tonight. All right, anything else on that topic? Then we'll move it on.
One thing you look at too is under, EMTALA, once you're within 250 yards of that facility, it's their patient. And they cannot delay their obligations by forcing an ambulance personnel to wait in a hallway or the parking lot with the patient under EMTALA. So you can take them in there, you are not obligated to stay. They cannot ask you to. They can ask you, but they cannot make you. That's federal law.
It's strictly a courtesy. It's not.
Right.
It's not a law.
Right. And I've thrown it on the hospital one time already.
So Karen, the director, is Karen still the director of Grutland, Casey? So Karen, it's been a while since I've talked to her, and I'm glad I don't have any issues, but I've talked to her several times in the past about things, and that's what she even told me. Again, because they do use the word diversion because they are a 10-bay hospital and they have to go on it. But she even told me that if you have a critical patient, call in and let us know, and we will make room. We will take them on. We're not, because it's a request, it's not a demand. They cannot make you not come to that facility. And I'll give instance, and then I'll be quiet and we'll move on. I was transporting a patient from the Cool Branch area. It was a bad wreck, and the wife had been flown out to Roanoke. The kids was in another vehicle. Gage was on the call working for Regional 1 at the time with DRT. I was in a Gretna ambulance. I got the dad. Dad was fine when we first started assessing him. We leave going to Franklin County, my first time ever going to Franklin County Hospital, and Dad starts looping on me every minute, asking me the same questions, and he starts going downhill. Dad's got a bad head injury. All right, I have no ALS on the truck. I'm an advanced, but I don't have any higher care on the truck. We had other patients on the truck as well. I think the kids actually was on my truck. We had split and had another provider on there, so I had multiple patients in one ambulance. And we're going out of county to a hospital that's already 30, 40 minutes away from my building. I'm in almost Rocky Mount when this guy again starts tanking. We finally get the number, because none of us even know the number to Franklin County, to call them and say, hey, we got these patients coming in, and oh, by the way, this guy's going downhill on me. Said hospital told me you need to divert and go to Roanoke. I said, excuse me? I said, you need to go to Roanoke. I said, no, I'm going to be at your building in 5 minutes. They said, no, you need to go to Roanoke. I said, I'm going to be at your building in 4 minutes now. We'll keep talking. They said, well, you need to call for ALS in Franklin County. I said, now I'm 3 minutes out. I'll call for ALS, but we're going to be at your hospital before they get dispatched. And they said, well, this patient needs more definitive care. You are definitive care compared to me. You're a hospital. They put the doctor on the phone, and the doctor finally said, I guess you can bring him in because I'm looking at you out the door. That's a true story. Am I lying, Alan?
Very true story.
So we took them in there. They cannot tell you can't bring the patient there. All right, any other on that topic? All right, moving to other matters from the commissioners. We're going to start over here to the left. Director Key.
Hey, I don't know if everybody knows, tomorrow's Chris Slimp's last day with the county. He's moving back to his roots down in Southwest Virginia. He's accepted a fire chief job back down there and is moving back. So tomorrow's his last day. So I just wanted to recognize him for all his hard work and efforts over the past couple of years. Thank him for what he's done.
Absolutely. Y'all reach out to Chris and let him know we appreciate the work he done. All right, Mr. Rowland. All right, Mr. Sellers. I'm sorry, Mr. Stallings. Gosh, I'm on the wrong side again. All right, Tim, go ahead.
That was a compliment, Steve.
Was it? That was a compliment, Steve. Gosh, it's been a long meeting.
I just got a couple of things, just for your information. They're running new water lines on some of our end of the county, now Horseshoe Road and everything. We've got about half of that completed. Still trying to get the water lines cut on back to the back park. It's all time for that. One of the things I had on here too was also about the conversion, but that's already been covered.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shields.
To the men and women that make a difference every day, I'd like to say thank you. To our new county administrator, welcome. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayhew. All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Chief Fowler.
I received an email this morning from the Virginia Department of Forestry. I'm sure some of the fire chiefs have seen it. They received, and this is a few and far between email, but they received extra funding for the Assistance to Firefighters grant process through the Department of Forestry, and they're encouraging folks to put in for a grant. That's a 50-50 grant, and for the agencies out there, you need to put in for it. We just redid a brush truck, and I know I showed it to Scott Hutchinson engaged at a call the other day. We've probably done $80,000 in upgrades, and we've got $3,500 of donation money in it. Everything else came through a series of grants from the Forestry Service to put that in place. So the agencies need to capitalize on that and put in. The deadline on that's April 30.
That good? I mean, that's for your equipment. I mean, that's chainsaws, rakes, backpack blowers,
Hose.
yeah, hose.
We actually got money to purchase the body that we put on the back of that truck to replace one that was in bad shape.
Chief Fowler, that's a 50-50 match.
That's
You might have
correct.
said that.
That's
okay.
correct, up to $5,000.
Yeah, the forestry grant, put in for it, guys. You will get it. I'm telling you, we've been putting in every year. I know the last 13 years, and we get it every year. So it'll help. $5,000 will help anybody.
Chief Fowler,
Other than that, we're glad to have a new county administrator on board. He came, sat down, and talked last night, and we're going to talk some more, but we're glad to have him.
Chief Fowler, what was the deadline on that again?
April 30.
All right, thank you, Chief Fowler. Commissioner Casper.
I would like to thank Mr. J.D. Brown for his service on this commission. I ask that you all keep J.D.'s son, J.D. Jr., and the Brown family in your prayers as J.D. Jr. is, last report to me, still in intensive care in very, very, very serious condition. If any of you didn't know, he was I believe, a freshman at Ferrum and was involved in a very serious accident. And the situation is very serious. I know there is a fundraiser coming up, and Ben will address that in just a minute. But again, I'd just like to thank JD, and please keep the entire Brown family and JD Jr. in your prayers.
Thank you, Alan. Mr. Sellers now.
Mr. Terrell, welcome to our community. Good luck on your new job, and we look forward to having you back here with us anytime. That's all I have.
All right. Mr. Holly.
I don't have anything.
All right. Vice Chair.
All right, I'd actually like to welcome the new county administrator. Thank you for coming out and being a part of us. I'd like to Chris Schlimp, thank you for everything that you've done. If you're watching, if not, we'll try to call you before you leave. We want to keep J.D. Brown in our prayers and thank him for the job he did on the commission. Also, I know sometimes we get involved in politics, and most of us sitting up here don't like politics. But you got to remember, we were put here to serve on this commission to assist public safety, the volunteers, and the citizens of Pennsylvania County. And that's what we do. And I'm happy to serve with each and every one of you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Yeah, so to just echo what some of my colleagues said, again, County Administrator, welcome. I'm glad to have you on board. Got to meet you the other night at the board meeting. Know we plan to sit down and talk. We've got a lot of projects we're working on, but we do have good volunteers in this county, good volunteer departments. We do have a good public safety department, and we appreciate your support going in the future, and we appreciate the board's support. Also, to reiterate what Vice Chair said, I called him Tuesday night when I left the board meeting. I was highly upset, and I want to apologize if I got kind of out of sorts tonight. I usually don't let things like that come out when I'm conducting meetings, but it irritated me. Again, it's nothing against Coleman. I've worked with Coleman's family a long time. His father-in-law was my fire chief for a long time, and I respect him a whole lot. But I just feel like things was not told or handled correctly. And again, I hope I didn't step in the wrong direction with the things I said. But I was passionate about it because I'm passionate about this county. I'm passionate about our fire and rescue. And I'm passionate about doing the right thing. And so I just felt like that needed to be said. To move on to J.D. Brown, I want to thank him for his service to this commission. J.D. was going to be here tonight to speak, to thank you all for his time, but J.D. cannot, so he sent it by word of me to let you know that he will still be supporting, he'll still be watching from afar, and if anybody needs anything, to let him know. As Mr. Casper said, his son was involved in an accident 21 days ago, and he's been on a ventilator for 21 days. Praise report, he come off the ventilator today. He does have a trach, he's got a peg tube, and he is slightly still sedated, but he is alert and giving thumbs up, and they actually got him up and sat him in a chair today. So we're very proud of that, and we thank the good Lord for looking after little JD. He's like a brother or son to me. He's helped me work some at my business. Anyway, the Marion Baptist Church is going to do a cruise-in fundraiser for J.D. Brown on April the 30th from 12 to 4. They've welcomed anybody who would like to join them for worship service at 11 a.m. And then they will shortly after start the car show. It says the Marion Baptist Church located at 2669 Marion Road, Chatham, Virginia 24531. Awards show starts at 3 p.m. 10 awards will be given, People's Choice. This will be the top award. Food provided for donations, and 100% of the donations will go directly to JD and his family. I know JD owns his own business here in the county, and he has been trying to continue operating that. He's got some good employees, but he has been there by his son's side pretty much every day. So was his wife and a lot of his other family, so they could use this money to help with gas and food. And then we are planning, several of us in the community are planning a barbecue fundraiser. I'm actually going to be cooking 17 Boston butts for J.D. Brown. And this will be June the 4th from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the American Legion. We will have live music. We'll have a DJ. We're going to do a 50-50. Plates will be $15. There'll be barbecue, baked beans, coleslaw, rolls, drinks, dessert. And again, this is going to be to raise money for J.D. Brown's son. So that's all I have. I appreciate everybody on this commission. Appreciate the Public Safety Department. And y'all have a good night.